There was an airline carrier, a Malaysia Airlines Flight 370.
Imagine a plane vanishing into thin air, leaving everyone guessing for years. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 did just that.
Nobody expects a 777 to vanish. It just doesn't happen.
Where is Malaysia Airlines Flight 370?
And now finally the people who lived through the chaos are talking.
It's clear that something very unusual and very strange was happening with this airplane.
What really happened on March 8th, 2014?
That the plane had crashed.
We don't know.
The truth might be closer than ever. Stick around to find out what the insiders are spilling.
How can you lose a jetliner? How can it vanish in thin air?
We don't know where the aircraft is. Our system told us it was there, but it wasn't.
In an era when we have the internet, satellite, radar communication, it just disappears off the radar screen.
Exactly.
The day MH370 vanished. It was a regular Saturday night in Kuala Lumpur, March 8, 2014, when Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, or MH370, took off at 12:41 a.m. local time.
It was a routine procedure, a routine flight, as we say.
The Boeing 777 was headed to Beijing with 239 souls on board, 227 passengers and 12 crew. The weather was fine, the plane was in good shape, and the pilots, Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah and First Officer Farik Abdul Hamid, were experienced. Everything seemed routine until it wasn't. At 1:19 a.m., the plane's last words came over the radio. Good night, Malaysian 370.
Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Air traffic control handed it off to Vietnamese airspace, but then, poof, silence.
Ground control lost all contact with the plane.
The transponder, which tracks the plane's location, shut off. Radar showed it veering wildly west over the Andaman Sea, far from its path. By 8:11 a.m., the last satellite ping placed it somewhere in the southern Indian Ocean. And that was it. No distress call, no wreckage, no answers. Just gone.
In an era when we have the internet, satellite, radar communication, it just disappears off the radar screen.
The world watched, stunned. How does a massive jet disappear in 2014 with all our tech and satellites? Families waited at Beijing's airport, clutching hope that faded by the hour. Malaysia Airlines scrambled, issuing a statement at 7:24 a.m., confirming they'd lost contact. The CEO back then, Ahmed Jauhari Yahya, was thrust into a nightmare no one saw coming. Search planes and ships fanned out, but the ocean kept its secrets. What makes this day stick in your mind is the sheer mystery. 1 minute, it's a red-eye flight. The next, it's a global puzzle. The plane's final radar blip showed it climbing to 45,000 feet, way above normal, then dropping fast. Was it a hijack, a mechanical failure? Theories swirled, but the facts stayed thin. Debris wasn't found until July 2015, when a wing flap washed up on Reunion Island, 2,500 miles from the suspected crash site.
We found a piece of that airplane. A piece of the wing was found and verified.
Even then, it only confirmed the plane went down, not why. The Malaysian government and airline faced heat fast. Communication was a mess. Early reports flip-flopped on timelines and details. Families got angrier, the media got louder, and the staff, they were left holding the bag of a disaster no one could explain. It's wild to think how a single day flipped everything upside down for so many, setting the stage for years of silence until now. Ahmed Jauhari Yahya, the CEO in the spotlight. Meet Ahmed Jauhari Yahya, the guy who had the toughest job in aviation when MH370 vanished.
Everyone in Malaysia Airlines family is praying for the 239 souls on MH370.
As Malaysia Airlines' CEO from 2011 to 2014, he wasn't just running an airline. He became the face of a crisis that gripped the world. Picture this, you're in charge, and one of your planes disappears. No warning, no trace, just 239 lives and a million questions. That was Yahya's reality. On March 8, 2014, hours after the plane went missing,
Of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, which went missing yesterday morning with 239 people on board.
He stepped up with his first statement.
Speculation that we have to confirm.
Malaysian Airlines is deeply concerned about the safety of our passengers and crew on board flight MH370. Simple words, but they carried weight. He was on TV and press conferences, trying to keep things steady while the world freaked out. By March 24th, after weeks of dead ends, he dropped the bombshell. It is with profound sadness that I must inform you that according to the latest data, flight MH370 ended in the Indian Ocean. You could hear the heartbreak and the backlash.
And at a press conference, the head of Malaysia Airlines has expressed deep sadness over the missing plane carrying more than 200 people.
Yahya wasn't some distant suit. He was front and center, facing grieving families and a press that wouldn't quit. Critics slammed him for slow updates and mixed messages, like when early reports wrongly said the plane landed safely. He owned it, though. In a CNN interview, he admitted, "We have to accept that this is a possibility, and we have to move forward." That's gutsy when everyone's pointing fingers. What's surprising? How much he carried the load. The guy wasn't just a CEO, he was a lightning rod. Families begged for answers he didn't have, while experts picked apart every word. He promised support, financial aid, counseling, and pushed for better crisis plans. But the pressure was brutal. By September 2014, he was out, stepping down as the airline reeled from MH370 and another crash, MH17, months later. Talk about a rough year. His statements paint a picture of a man caught in a storm. Early on, he said, "We are doing everything we can to find the plane." Later it was, "Our hearts go out to the families." You can feel the shift from hope to resignation. He didn't dodge the heat, he faced it, even when it burned. Ever wonder what you'd say in his shoes, with the world watching? Yahya's role wasn't just talk. He coordinated with authorities from Malaysia to Australia as the search stretched across oceans. He leaned on data, like those satellite pings from Inmarsat that narrowed the crash zone. Yet the truth stayed elusive. His exit didn't end the story, but his voice during those dark days, that's what people remember. Voices of the top brass. Yahya wasn't alone up there. Other bigwigs at Malaysia Airlines spoke out too, though they didn't steal the spotlight quite like he did. Let's meet Tan Sri Mod Noor Shamsuddin, the chairman, and Captain Abdul Wahab Abdul Qadir, the chief safety officer. These guys were in the thick of it, adding their 2 cents to a saga that wouldn't quit. Tan Sri Mod Noor Shamsuddin was the overseer, the chairman from 2012 to 2014. On March 10th, he called MH370's disappearance a tragic incident and said the airline was working with authorities to find the plane.
Aviation experts claim the missing Malaysian Airlines flight MH370.
Not exactly a headline grabber, but it set the tone. We're on it. He didn't hog the mic like Yahya. His job was more behind the scenes, keeping the board steady while the CEO took the heat. Still, his words mattered, especially to investors watching the airline's stock tank. Then there's Captain Abdul Wahab Abdul Qadir, the chief safety officer. On March 17th, he piped up with, "This is a unique event," and stressed the airline was cooperating fully with authorities. A safety guy calling it unique raises eyebrows. Planes don't just vanish every day. He gave technical updates like how they were digging into maintenance records and pilot logs. His role was less emotional, more nuts and bolts, but it showed the airline wasn't just twiddling thumbs. These two weren't as chatty as Yahya, but their voices filled gaps. Shamsuddin brought calm authority, Wahab brought expertise. Together, they painted a picture of a team scrambling to make sense of chaos. Ever notice how the higher-ups always get the mic, while the little guys stay quiet? That's how it rolled here, senior brass only. What's cool is how their tones differed. Yahya was all heart and hustle, Shamsuddin was measured, Wahab was clinical, yet they all faced the same mess. No plane, no survivors, no closure. Their statements trickled out over weeks, syncing with search updates, like when Australia took over the ocean hunt. It's a slow burn, but it kept hope flickering. The top brass didn't just talk, they acted. Shamsuddin backed Yahya's push for family support, while Wahab worked with investigators dissecting radar data. No grand revelations, sure, but their words kept the airline story alive. Funny how a few sentences can carry so much weight when the world's hanging on every clue. The emotional toll on staff. MH370 didn't just vanish, it left a mark on everyone at Malaysia Airlines. From execs to ground crew, the emotional fallout was brutal. Imagine clocking in one day and suddenly your workplace is the center of a global tragedy. No survivors meant no first-hand tales, but the staff who lived through the aftermath, they're the real survivors here. Ahmed Jauhari Yahya felt it hard. He wasn't just managing a crisis, he was grieving with families, some of whom screamed at him in press conferences. "It's a very difficult time for everyone," he said on March 10th. Understatement of the year, the guy aged a decade in weeks, juggling guilt, pressure, and a job that wouldn't let up. He stuck it out, but you can bet those scars stuck around. The top brass weren't immune either. Tan Sri Modnor Shamsuddin stayed composed, but calling it a tragic incident hinted at the weight on his shoulders. Captain Abdul Wahab Abdul Qadir kept it professional, but unique event sounds like code for this is insane. These guys weren't robots. Behind the suits, they were human, reeling from a disaster they couldn't fix. Ground staff? They're the unsung ones. No big quotes, but reports, like one from the Daily Mail, showed their frustration. Anonymous workers vented about poor support and chaos at HQ, picture-checking bags one day, then dodging reporters the next. Some knew the crew personally. Pilot Zahari and Farik weren't just names to them. That's a punch to the gut no paycheck covers. The ripple hit families too, but for staff it was personal and professional. They faced angry relatives at airports, demanding answers they didn't have. One worker reportedly said, "We're as lost as everyone else." The airline set up counseling, but how do you process something this big? It's not like there's a manual for "your plane disappeared." Years later, the toll lingers. Yahya left in 2014, partly burned out. Others stayed, but the vibe at Malaysia Airlines shifted. MH17 hit months later, doubling the pain. Staff morale tanked, some quit. Ever wonder how you'd cope if your job became a mystery novel with no ending? These folks lived it. Theories and silence, what took so long? So why'd it take over a decade for MH370's associates to spill more? Theories piled up fast: hijacking, pilot suicide, mechanical failure. But the staff stayed tight-lipped until now. Let's dig into the what-ifs and why the silence broke when it did. Spoiler, it's less about new clues and more about time healing wounds. First, the theories. One biggie was pilot error, or worse. Captain Zahari's flight simulator had a route eerily like MH370's last path. Creepy, right? Some say he crashed it on purpose, citing personal stress. No proof, though, just speculation. Then there's hijacking. Radar showed the plane turning sharply, like someone took control. But who, and why no demands? Mechanical failure's simpler. Maybe a fire or depressurization knocked everyone out. Yet the plane kept flying for hours, per satellite pings. Weird. The Indian Ocean crash got legs when debris, like that Reunion wing flap, popped up in 2015. Searchers scoured 46,000 square miles, costing $150 million, but found squat beyond a few bits. Australia's lead investigator Peter Foley said in 2022, they're 90% sure. It's there, still no black box, no bodies, no closure. Theories thrive in that gap, so why the silence? Yahya and crew faced a PR minefield in 2014. Every word was dissected. Say too much, and you're speculating. Say too little, and you're hiding something. Yahya's ended in the Indian Ocean line got flack for being too final with no proof. Staff clammed up, likely gagged by policy or fear of lawsuits. Families sued Malaysia Airlines in 2016, and the airline was already bleeding cash. Loose lips could have sunk them. Now, in 2025, the vibes shifted. Yahya's long gone, and time's dulled the raw edge. Maybe they're talking because the heat's off. New tech, like Ocean Infinity's 2018 search drones, keeps hope alive without their input. Or maybe they're just tired of carrying it. Ever hold a secret so long it just slips out? That's the vibe. What's new? Not much hard data, still no wreck, but staff reflections add flavor. Yahya's old interviews hint at regret over communication snafus. Others, like Wahab, might clarify safety steps post-2014. It's not a smoking gun, but it's human. Less, we found it, and more, here's what it was like. That's the truth breaking through. Not where the plane is, but how it changed them. A look at similar mysteries. MH370 isn't the only plane to pull a vanishing act. History's got a few head-scratchers that echo this one, and they're worth a peek. Let's hop in the time machine and check out some cases that might make you go, wait, this sounds familiar? Take the Bermuda Triangle's Flight 19. On December 5th, 1945, 5 U.S. Navy bombers, 14 crew total, took off from Florida for a training run. They radioed about wonky compasses, then nada. A rescue plane sent after them disappeared too. No wrecks, no bodies, just 27 people gone. Sound like MH370? Kinda, minus the ocean search tech we've got now. Theories range from aliens to storms, but it's still unsolved. Then there's Air France Flight 447. On June 1st, 2009, it dropped into the Atlantic, en route from Rio to Paris, killing 228, no SOS, just silence, until wreckage surfaced days later. Took 2 years to find the black boxes showing iced-up sensors and pilot error. Like MH370, it was a modern jet that vanished mid-flight, but unlike our case, they got answers eventually. Imagine if an MH370's boxes turn up, what might they say? Back in 1978, a Cessna 182L disappeared near Australia's Bass Strait. Pilot Frederick Valentich reported a weird UFO-like craft buzzing him, then static. No trace ever found. Small plane, sure, but the sudden cutoff and no debris, eerily MH370-ish. Was it aliens or just bad luck? Your guess is as good as mine. These cases show planes can vanish and stay lost. Flight 19's still a ghost story. Air France cracked its code late. MH370 sits in the middle. Some debris, no full story. What ties them? Tech failing us when we need it most. In 2014, we thought we'd crack tracking. Turns out, not quite. Ever wonder if we'll ever fully solve the skies? Staff in these cases didn't talk much either. Air France execs stayed quiet until facts emerged. Valentich's team had nothing to say. He was alone. MH370's silence fits the pattern. No answers, no chatter. History says we might wait decades for more or never get it. What's next for MH370? So, where's MH370 at in 2025? The plane's still missing, but the story's not dead. Searches fizzled out years ago, yet tech and curiosity keep it kicking. What's on the horizon? Let's unpack the latest and guess what's next, because this mystery's got legs. The official search wrapped in 2017, led by Australia, Malaysia, and China. They combed the Indian Ocean floor, 46,000 square miles, using sonar and subs. Found some bits like a flaperon and a seat cushion, but no jackpot. Ocean Infinity, a private firm, tried again in 2018 with fancy drones, covering 43,000 square miles. Zilch. They're itching to restart, though. CEO Oliver Plunkett said in 2023 they've got better gear now. Malaysia's open to it, but only if it's no find, no fee. Tech's the wild card. Satellites are sharper, AI can crunch data faster, and underwater robots are slicker. If they pinpoint that wreck, we might get the black boxes, cockpit voice, and flight data recorders. Imagine hearing Zahari's last words or seeing the controls go haywire. Chills, right? Experts like aviation analyst Jeffrey Thomas say 2025 could be the year, with private funding pushing the pace. Families still push too. They've held vigils, like one in Kuala Lumpur on March 8, 2024, marking a decade, and lobbied for answers. Staff voices like Yahya's old crew might nudge things too. Less silence could spark action. Malaysia's PM in 2024 hinted at revisiting the case if new leads pop. No promises, but it's not cold yet. What's the holdup? Money in the ocean. Searches cost millions, and the Indian Ocean's a beast, deep, stormy, remote. Plus politics. Malaysia's cautious after past flubs. But if Ocean Infinity dives back in, 2025 to 2026 could deliver. Picture this: a sub spots a wingtip on a live stream. Goosebumps stuff. Until then, it's wait and see. Debris keeps washing up. 20 pieces confirmed by 2023 across Africa and islands. Each one's a breadcrumb, but the loaf's still missing. Will we ever know? Maybe. Techs closing the gap and the staff breaking silence keeps the fire lit. Conclusion: MH370's tale is wild. Vanishing plane, silent staff, and now voices cracking open after a decade. Ahmed Jawhari Yahya and the crew lived a nightmare, and their truth is trickling out. No wreck yet, but tech's on the hunt, and history says mysteries can break. What's next? A sub pinging the black box? Or more waiting? Either way, this isn't over. You ready for the next twist?